In this video, we talk about what are logical fallacies and how do they impact our arguments, or how do they affect our arguments. So basically, I want to start off with saying thank you guys so much for all the support on my recent videos. I really appreciate it. I can't express how much it means to me. Thank you guys very much for that. And basically, with logical fallacies, an argument can still be right even if a logical fallacy is presented, which kind of confuses me a little bit because I'm like, there's a fallacy called the fallacy. And basically what that means is the assumption that an argument's wrong because it uses a logical fallacy. But the mindset, if an argument can be right using a logical fallacy, what's the point of pointing out the logical fallacies? You know what I mean? But I guess there's still a point. I don't know. That's just my opinion. That's me begging the question, using the begging the question fallacy. But basically, I'm talking about a lot of the fallacies. I probably won't get to all of them just because there's so many. But like some of the basic ones like straw man fallacy, ad hominem fallacy, tu quo fallacy, burden of proof fallacy, begging the question fallacy, middle ground fallacy, and there's probably another one I'll talk about briefly in this video. So first fallacy we can probably talk about is the ad hominem fallacy, and that's basically using an argument like receiving criticism, attacking the person rather than addressing the actual criticism. This is obviously a logical fallacy because the criticism still stands, so you have to to resolve the problem, instead of attacking the person, you gotta address the criticism, because if you don't address the criticism, it's still there, so that's the logic's still there regardless of attacking the person, Another one that I feel like people use is straw man, and that's using a broad generalization of someone's argument. For example, like someone says, I want to drink water more, and the other person's like, whoa, are you saying we should shut down all the soda companies? Or are you saying that we can't drink soda anymore? A broad generalization of just an argument, or just almost an opinion. That could be used as straw man. Tu quo is receiving criticism instead of attacking the person. It's using other criticism to argue that criticism, but it's still not addressing the original claim to the argument. The middle ground, I was so worried when I was researching these. I'm like, I feel like I use the middle ground a lot, because I'm like, I use in the middle ground is trying to find, saying two sides of an argument, trying to find the middle ground inside, saying two sides of arguments wrong, and then trying to find the compromise between the arguments. But luckily, I'm saying, on my videos I say, both sides are true, not trying to find the middle ground between the arguments. So it's borderline, but not quite, just because that would be me trying to say both sides aren't true, but there's a middle ground in between. Whereas it's more like both sides are true, in a way. Another logical fallacy would be burden of proof, and it's similar to begging the question. Whereas if you make an argument and instead of necessarily proving the argument, you have to challenge the person to disprove the argument, and that would be an example of burden of proof. So that would be that one. Another common fallacy used a lot is composition/division. And this one's basically just composition. They kind of go hand in hand. They kind of are paired up together pretty well. Composition is just a certain person is part of a certain group, whether that be any type of group. Examples are school, politics, whatever it may be. And you assume just because of their personality traits that everyone in the entire group has the same personality traits. Whereas division would be a certain group. Someone is a certain group, so therefore you associate certain characteristics with that person. that would be a form of division. So obviously that makes sense, I guess, why these would be pretty bad logical fallacies, because everyone's different. And this fallacy kind of puts too much of certain people together, I guess. So I guess that can be sometimes problematic. I mean, not always, because it can form unity, but it also can cause division as well. So that explains why this one could be somewhat problematic, I guess. Some other fallacies include the anecdotal fallacy, and that's basically like a broad generalization fallacy. So that would be saying like, this happened to me in my life, so this must happen to everyone. For example, I ran 2 miles and lost 10 pounds. So everyone who runs 2 miles must lose 10 pounds. That's probably not necessarily the case. That could also be false cause. Fallacy, because just correlation doesn't mean causation. So if someone, just sometimes some things can happen and you might think that's because of something that caused something else, but not always the case. Also, another point about logical fallacies is asking questions about things, like valid questions about things, wouldn't actually be considered a logical fallacy. And in my mind, when I first made this video, I thought that was. For example, I thought me asking the question, what is the importance of the fallacy, which is basically the fallacy that states, is a fallacy that states assuming that a logical fallacy is used in argument, it can't be true. That's the fallacy too. And I was like, well, like I said earlier, like what's the point of that fallacy? After looking it up, it said it was a valid question. So I was like, shoot, that was close. That was a close call. I thought it was I was using a fallacy for my own, but no. As long as your questions are valid, they wouldn't be considered a fallacy. So that was reassuring. I was like, shoot, I thought I used a fallacy, but I was like, okay, cool. So basically, I guess what I can assume from this is most fallacies are probably based on assumptions rather than questioning. Questioning is okay, about having valid questions for things, but most logical fallacies are stating assumptions as facts, I guess. And that's where most logical fallacies, and I guess that can be considered sometimes bad. So I guess that's why logical fallacies can, because it's taking assumptions, not saying assumptions as assumptions, but stating assumptions as facts, which I think is cool. And yeah, those are a lot of the logical fallacies. And so I hope you guys like this video. As always, I hope you guys like this video. Like and subscribe if you want. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.